Hello, students of Philosophy of Education course. Welcome to week 11. In this week and the next week, these two closing 2 weeks of the course, we turn to um, education as a whole, as something that people do and think about and we do that by examining the status of education as an academic discipline as in a social sphere. This week we focus on the relation between philosophy and education, and through this we will address the status of education as an academic discipline among foundational disciplines. We do that using papers by Arcila and Biesta, each his own paper. Arcila claims this connection between philosophers and educators is something that we sometimes hear, and he analyzes these what he sees as a problem through the work of Dewey, philosophers of philosopher of education, whose some of his work, um, democracy and education, we read earlier in the course. Arcila um, does not use the particular first chapters that we read from this book, but he uses more later chapters. Arcila claims in his paper that a prominent reason why educators don't read and use philosophy is that in looking for usable and convincing social theory to guide their work, most educators turn not to philosophy but to social sciences and their theories like sociology and psychology, since these disciplines are more empirical and positivist sciences that fits more. Uh, so educators think Arcila claims fits more to education. From this analysis, Arcila offers a particular solution about this alleged silence between philosophy and education, and I will let you read which solution he offers. The first theme in this week addresses Arcila papers. The title is Philosophers and Educators Disconnection. Um, and Arcila is worried that by and large the philosophical community express no interest in thinking about education, and that the educational community in turn does not seem to care about philosophy. What I'm asking you to think about is uh, about this concern about the established silence between philosophy and education. Do you think it is an important a problem? Maybe it's not a problem in general, just for Asila himself, as he himself suspects when he faces these two other audiences, philosophers and educators. Maybe it is a real problem that threatens the relevance of philosophy of education to educational policy making and practice. So I'm asking you to think where you are positioning yourself in this with relation to this alleged problem. I'm asking you um, to consider Arthila or observation. Maybe he's entirely wrong, and you want to claim against his own interpretation. And maybe you think that the two communities, philosophers and education, actually and educators, actually do have effective communication that Arcila misses. Um, I'm asking you in your answer to address also Sila's interpretation of Jewish theory about the relation between philosophy and education. And I'm asking also your own view about the relation between two disciplines. Your own view as you might have developed throughout this course. Biesta, the other author we read this week, he reviews in his paper the history of the idea of philosophy of of education and of education as an academic discipline, and he distinguishes between uh, uh, two views. One is the way uh, this notion of philosophy of education was developed in the English speaking world, that is the Anglo-American construction on the one hand, and the continental construction. It was developed mostly in German speaking countries. So while the Anglo-American construction of education, um, in this construction, education is mostly considered in the context of teacher education. In the continental one, it has more broader sense. Unlike the Anglo-American construction, where education is heavily guided by other disciplines, philosophy, history, sociology, psychology, in the continental and others, in the continental construction, education establishes itself more as an academic discipline in its own right. And the second theme, titled The Anglo-American versus the Continental Construction, addresses this distinction. And I'm asking you, using Biesta's argument, what is your position about the relation between philosophy and um, education? Do you think that um, you are more drawn to philosophy of education as it became institutionalized in the English speaking world, and as such you see education defined by other disciplines, or maybe you are drawn to the way in which the academic study of education has been developed in the continental construction, and as such you think that education is academic discipline in its own right, and what do you think that means? So those are the readings, and this is the discussion questions for this week. Looking forward to see you in the discussion. Bye bye.